Good afternoon, audience, and welcome back to What Matters Gulf Coast. Now, I want to chastise you just a tad bit. No one can tell me that there are not other good candidates running from the Democratic Party to compete with the other side. We have excellent and very qualified candidates running, and it is time for you to get to know them. They have been crisscrossing all over the state, and I'm pretty certain there are some areas they have not hit. So let's take this time to get to know some of those candidates. We have two or three that are coming on the show. We want to make sure that you are aware of the fact that we do have other candidates. It is not just a one sided campaign or a one sided election. I'm about to introduce you to one of those such candidates, and this young lady is running for governor of the state of Alabama and going up against Mimo and all of Mimo's expertise. That's a joke. Let me take time to introduce you to one of those excellent, qualified, and a Democratic candidate running, as I said before, for the office of governor. Miss Yolanda Flowers, candidate for governor of Alabama, Democratic Party. Yolanda Rochelle Robinson was born on March 26, 1961, to Mr. and Mrs. McConnell Robinson. She attended and graduated from Woodlawn High School in 1978. She later married Mr. Curtis Flowers and birthed three children. She is the grandmother, even though she's a young person now, she is the grandmother of 12 and the great grandmother of 5. Miss Flowers attended Maryville College in Maryville, Tennessee, where she received her bachelor's degree in audiology, and the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, where she obtained her master's degree in rehabilitation counseling. Ms. Flowers has worked in academia for 20 years, practicing speech language pathology on students with speech impediments and has worked as a vocational rehab counselor for the state of Tennessee. Now, the next person you will hear on the program, on the show, is Ms. Yolanda Flowers, candidate for governor of the state of Alabama. Ms. Flowers.
Ms. Simpson, for having me on What Matters Gulf Coast this evening or this afternoon. I am so grateful for the invitation and that you all just thought enough of me to want me to be a part. I am grateful for that. I just tell you a little bit about me. As you heard Ms. Simpson mention about a little bit of who I am. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about my heart, okay? The reason why I am running for governor in the first place. Coming up in the 60s and, growing and up during that time. And still there was so much going on, so much fighting and war, with us against our, I guess you can say those are against us. Okay, we're going to put that. We know the time of which that, spelled for the African American community all across the nation. I was going to say world, but no, but all across the nation. When I thought about, before I thought about the running, I was asked a question. And first it began with a statement, and it was given by my grandson, who now lives in Tennessee. And at the age of 14, he texted me, and he and I, we just carry on long conversations. But he texted me and said, Granny, we need more African Americans. And he just listed the different offices. And of course, governor was on there. And I said, well, and I text him back and I say, you're right. And then he ends up calling me and he said, well, Granny, and we just talked about that. And I said, I got your text and everything. That was a few days later. I said, I received your text and I agree with what you said. He said, well, had you thought about running for an office? And I said, no, I haven't. I said, no. I said, yes, I did. I said, but nothing like this. I thought about running for the community resource person that we need, counsel for our neighborhood association. Since at that time, I served as the secretary for the neighborhood association in our community, which is Oak Ridge Park. And I said, but that's all I thought about. He said, well, Granny, you worked in academia, you know, in the education system, you know what's all going on, you know about how bad Alabama, the crime and everything. I said, well, yeah, I do know about that. And he said, well, why don't you run for council? And I said, well, son, I really don't have time to do all of that. I said, and I'm pushing it just to even attempt to think about running for the community resource counseling. And he said, well, why don't you run for governor? I said, son, did you not hear me? I don't have time for that. And at the time, my husband was ailing. You know, we was needing me to be home to take him back and forth to the doctor. You know, he had incurred cancer. It started with prostate. And so I needed to be at home. And that means that I had to stop working so that I can care for him. And so he said, well, why don't you think about it, Granny? And I said, well, I'll think about it. And he said, well, why don't you pray about it? I said, Zeke, I don't know. Okay, I'll pray about it, because he was insistent. He really was insistent and persistent. Mm-hmm. So weeks passed by, and his voice, as if you hear me talking to you, just straight up and said, well, you know, you promised him you would come to me. I said, well, you're right, Lord. So immediately, it was on a Monday morning. And I usually have my quiet time with God. And that time, and that's what I did. I went into prayer. And the first thing I did when I got down on my knees, I said, oh, Lord, this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. And he just let me go on and rant and talk. And, you know, then his same little still voice, he said, well, Deborah led the children of Israel to victory. Mm. And I said, well, you're right. And then it was a little pause. And he said, if you don't do it for anybody else, do it for your grandson. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, Lord, I can't do it just for my grandson. I have to do it for all the children. I just can't stop right there. You know, I'm thinking that's selfish. You know, I have to do it for all the children. And that right there is what spurned that sparks, to stroke it and had me thinking. So I immediately, I still kept it in. And then I told him about a week or so later, and I said, Zeke, I think I'm going to run. I'll run for governor. He said, yeah, Granny, yeah, so you can get some changes can be done. I said, well, I'll run and see what comes of it. He said, now you need to go and tell Granddad. I said, no, I can't tell Granddad, because Granddad is not a positive person right now. He said, well, I think you should. I said, well, no, I tell your dad, I tell your auntie, I tell your uncles, I tell everybody else. I said, Granddad will be the last. He said, well, okay. But as God would have it, because, my husband tended to be, at the time, was kind of negative, in certain things. And I just didn't think that he would applaud me taking this leap. So he and I were on the porch one morning, one early, nice morning, and we were just talking, had a very good conversation. And then it just came to slid on out, just like butter, just came on out. And I said, I thought about running for governor. He said, for real? He said, that's great. Get that old crazy woman out. And I was like, you don't mind? He said, well, no, I don't mind. I think if she can do it, you can do it. I said, well, okay. So that gave me another, just like a thumbs up, a go ahead, a good support, cheer on thing. And so immediately then I was happy. And I shared that with my grandson. And he was doing his research all along. And he said, well, Granny, they start there in June. They're going to have training for 2 days. You need to go ahead and get registered. I was like, really? He said, yeah. He said, you need to go ahead and get registered because it's going to be June the 17th to June the 18th. Of course, that was last year, 2021. And so that young man helped me. So that started the walk, the adventure for this journey here. And at the beginning, doing that, God just started telling me what He wanted, the issues I needed to address. He had me to do some research, and I did that. He said, now I want you, this is your thing. He said, I want you to talk about reconstructing. Go to the Reconstruction era and do your study. I mean, just like I'm talking to you now. He was, when we called him the Holy Spirit, a teacher, he was truly a teacher. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was been doing. And he gave me the theme, let's reconstruct Alabama together. And ever since then, God has been instrumental in the issues that He wanted me to address, how to write up my platform, and how to present it. He just gave, in each and every day, I have this passion that gets hotter and hotter every day. And He encourages me that when I get a little discouraged because the money wasn't coming in, He said, it's not by might, Yolanda, not by power, but it's by my spirit. And here another scripture, He would say, the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to he who endures to the end. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. So He, like I said, that began the journey with Him from the forefront and doing out the campaign, forums, debate. I make certain that everyone knows that the foundation of my campaign is Bible-based. It's based on the Word of God. And He is the one, the source, that has been helping me and instructing me. He'll wake me up early in the morning and say, now I want you to talk about this. or I need you to go and do this. I mean, simple things. I want you to wear this, to this thing. So simple things, even to what He wants me to eat for my health. And so you see how awesome that is. So that's what I've been doing. It's just been all God the whole time. Mm-hmm. The whole time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The issues that He have me to address. Being an educator, I've been talking about our education system and the criminal justice system and healthcare system in our economy. Okay. And I'm sure, and one just, this dominoes, the domino effect, it just affects all. So you can't just talk about one without adding the others into it. That's just how things are built. But it started with education. Mm-hmm. And it stated on how, from the research, that at the time when I researched it, Alabama was ranked 50. It hasn't improved that much. It's like 48 now. So, that's just a very slight improvement. And it all depends on which site or that you look on to get the ranks. Healthcare 46%. Economy is still in the 40s, like 44%. Our criminal justice is deplorable, and it's just like I hadn't even looked at the percentage on that, knowing that it is still so low. So those are the issues that he wanted me to address. So starting with the education system, by it being so low, my plan for governor, as governor, I propose to bring about what educators know about the IEP, the Individualized Education Plan.
Mhm.
Generally, that's for students that are in special ed.
Mhm.
But because students learn differently, well, I mean, you have kinesthetic learners, auditory type of learners, and you have visual learners.
Mhm.
So we have to know how to address and how to plan or create a curriculum for each one of those students. Okay, and then we have to look at if the child has a disability or not. And that plan, the IEP plan will address all of those issues to see what the child's strengths and the weaknesses, to see if the child has a disability, a learning disability, dyslexia, if the child suffered with autism or central auditory disorder or ADHD, things such as that. Those things that I've addressed even as a speech language and hearing pathologist. Um, I worked with students such as that, not just with the reading. We want to see what our students from the beginning, age 5 on, if we can start them early, then we'll be able to better plan and ensure that our students are successful. So that's what the IEP plan will consist of. That will also involve, we know that a psychologist. The psychologist will be the one that will render the testing, okay? And the psychologist will work with the teacher to implement uh, a curriculum for the children, okay? And especially the child that has a disability. Now, and by the age of 5, all disabilities, unless it was something that incurred or happened, what I mean by that, happened to them by an accident, say a car accident, or the child slipped and fell and bumped his head, and and something happened there, a traumatic brain injury occurred because of that, causing aphasia or other things, disabilities. But by the age of 5, according to studies, uh, and being one that had to study disabilities as a vocational rehabilitation counselor, um, the disabilities should be prevalent at that by the age. Okay, so and that will help better address the issues that will be at hand. So now the psychologist will work with the teacher. And another thing I want to bring about in the education is a thing called looping. Looping has been around for a long time, and it hasn't been practiced per se here in Alabama. Now, what does looping consist of? It consists of, by the time the child reaches first grade, that teacher will umbrella or take that child or children until if they will be just like mama and children. Okay, that same teacher will be with that child until the end of 5th grade when they have to go to middle school. And but that will help the parent even to calm down, allow the parent to be more active and more involved in the learning process of their children. That just make everybody comfortable, and that teacher, especially for students who don't do well with change, and you find that in with students who suffer with autism. Okay, they don't do well with change, so that will help them. We have different levels of autism. High functioning, like Albert Einstein was a high functioning autistic individual. Brilliant, he was brilliant, but he's not the only one. There are many, and according to studies, As a matter of fact, all of us suffer with autism or has some form of autism, autistic behaviors. So that's according to study. But that would help our children to be successful. Another thing I would like to mention while I'm in the education, I'm trying to hurry on up, is to bring the lottery. Okay, the lottery, I've been pressing on that. Could serve as the education lottery, but not just that. But that will help bring in monies that will work with the federal monies that come in, so that we won't have to tax our people here in the state of Alabama on the food. Okay, which really um, impedes the well being of the poor community, our poor citizens. So the lottery will help. And I stress that a lot because by my living in Tennessee, I was able to benefit from the lottery. When I went back to school, the lottery was in full swing then, and I was able to qualify for the Hope Scholarship. And that took thousands off of my education bill. Not education, what you call it, but anyway, the bill. I can't think of it. Right.
Mm.
But it took care of that. And the lottery also takes care of the infrastructures of Tennessee, which you can very well do that here, you know. So that money, some of that money will be allocated along with the federal funds to help fund our education system, will ensure that our teachers get higher pay, better pay. We ensure that our teachers will have the tools that they need so that there will be um, productive teaching, such as a paraprofessional. Every teacher needs one in every classroom
Mhm.
to help maintain the class. It doesn't matter if you're kindergarten or a senior in high school, you need maintaining. We need order so that they can prepare and better teach the students. And you know what? Some students do better one on one. That
Mhm.
paraprofessional will be able to help. And a paraprofessional will have to have at least an associate's degree to be
Mhm.
able to do these things, to be able to effectively teach a child how to read or what have you. So those are the things for education. Also that lottery, when I talk about the infrastructure also in the school system, we can have good schools, clean schools, well-maintained schools, um, get rid of the asbestos, upgrade the HVAC system, the water system, all those things that is prevalent. Sick children can't learn. Anyone sick cannot perform well. So that will be conducive for our students in that environment, as well as providing pay for the SROs so they can protect our children as well as the staff. We need um, security with all that has been going on now. Not just one. I mean, may have to have two. All depends on the area. But and they will have a quick access to the local police department, so that they will be someone that can reach them within minutes, not hours, within a few minutes. So these things are conducive and doable for the education system. The next issue I want to bring about is the criminal justice system. Alabama is suffering dreadfully here concerning our incarcerated loved ones. The criminal justice system, I've seen videos that were sent to me and pictures that were sent to me about what's been going on. Okay. Parents have been writing me. Inmates have been writing me. Then I'm going to say incarcerated loved ones. I do apologize for all this noise, it seems like trucks. But anyway, they have been writing me. What's been so disturbing is seeing how you can find two men sleeping in one bed. Okay. And in a bed, you're just sleeping so together and just separated by a sheet of plywood, just
Mhm.
not so, just separated. Okay. beds together, just a separation right there. You see that. You see in the video that was shown how there were containers that's marked for no human consumption, but they're feeding food is in these containers. Not saying whether don't know if it was cleaned out or not, but the fact that chemicals are in those, and chemicals can get into the plastic. There's just so many unhealthy things that's going on there. 150 to 200 men using one stall. They're having to take a shower using a hose pipe, okay? And just unsanitary conditions. During the summer, they're burning up where we suffer for 90-degree weather. And I know there in Gulf Coast here this past summer, it was some blazing temperatures there. I mean, we were there and it was like 115 almost. And so that is like magnified in the prisons because they don't have air. Mm. They don't have windows, to circulate, And during the winter, if it's 30 degrees here outside, it's going to be below zero in the prisons. So they are freezing during the winter and burning up during the summer. And here, as of a week or so ago, gets a report that they are feeding the incarcerated citizens peaches and light bread. Okay, that's the meal. That's the meal. What concerns me is that here taxpayers' money have been taken out.
Yeah,
each time to provide services. They don't have toilet paper or soap, and the commissaries for a roll of tissue is just like what we would pay for a 6-pack, of Charmin or something. I mean, expensive, okay? Or a bar of soap. We are paying for these things, okay? And when they get toilet paper, they have one roll a month, and the women don't even have enough toilet paper. They have to use their sanitary napkins to wipe themselves. It's just nasty. It's just, so you wonder what's going on. The areas that was designated for their training, for vocational training, such as brick mason or things, those are, non-existent because they're using those rooms to house more prisoners. And upon studying, here we are, African Americans make up 26% of the population. That's a little bit over a fourth. Out of that 26%, 61% of the 26% is African Americans that are incarcerated in prisons. Okay, 45% of that are incarcerated in the local jails. So that means the most of our population are imprisoned. Okay, so that doesn't leave many of African Americans to do much anything. So we're down to the thousands, not a million, over a million. Okay, so that's alarming to me. That hurts. I see a lot of racial profiling here, a lot of racial profiling, and and we are the highest. African Americans are the highest that are imprisoned. Our Native Americans are next in line, and then our Latino Americans, they are. Okay, so that is so disturbing. It's so unfair. So unfair. Last week we went to a rally in Montgomery, rallying against the ADOC, and to be able to speak to some of those parents who have suffered the loss of their child because of maltreatment. Some have starved to death. Some were beaten to death on life support, and some were beaten to death. um, by not just the correctional officers, but by some of the incarcerated, those who are incarcerated. I saw a video clip of a bunch of guys just, incarcerated citizens jumping on another one. They just beat the guy to a bloody pulp. Don't know if he survived. When they knocked him out, he was fighting with all he had. But when you have 6 or 7 punching you and kicking you, and when you're down, they're still kicking him down and out. They stripped him of his clothes, just butt naked, just naked. I just cried. I couldn't see that anymore. We just see a lot of that. You see a lot of mental health issues where you will have young people that have been incarcerated at the age of 12 or 13 years old. Instead of them giving them the counseling and the rehabilitation so that they won't get back, they keep them there until they turn 18 years old. And then they as an adult. That they're, trial him as that. And now he or she, they are living their lives there. So these young people, when they see a lot of rape and death, they're losing their minds. They're hanging themselves, they're committing suicide, and they're doing because they can't take it anymore. So these are the issues. The pardons and parole board is just old men, old retired white officers, okay, which I feel has incarcerated majority of the blacks, if not all of them, and they will not allow them parole. You say, well, why? They're not doing it by themselves. There is an organization called Vocal, which is comprised of Caucasian people. They'll come in when the inmate is up for parole, and they tell them no. And the parole board listens to them. Therefore, they tack on another 5 years when they have done everything they're supposed to do so that they can be paroled. Okay? Our incarcerated citizens are being leased to other states for money. They're being paid $2 a week, and they're being leased to other states to help build bridges and clean up roads or whatever. Okay? Build other prisons. So this is what our governor is doing to our people, our citizens. And so because the maltreatment, they are being treated as if and thought of or talked about as being animals when they're not. Dogs impounded. Dog pounds they're treating their animals better than, our incarcerated citizens. When they go up for an ailment, if they're sick, they have a copay to see the doctor, $8 a pay. That's more than some of us are paying to go to see the doctor, for primary care. For a nurse, they have to pay $4. Where are they getting that money from if they can't work? If they're just getting paid $2, and if they miss the appointment, they still have to pay. And they're not making enough money to put on the books to pay for fines, and if they have family to give the mother, their wives, or a little bit, or the children a little bit of money, they're not making. There's just slave wages. Okay, they treated as slaves, and this is what is called modern day slavery. So I'm going to move on to the next issue, and I've been on that for a long time. So I want to talk about our health care here, all across the state, expanding Medicaid. That is very important to Alabama. It's very important for all of us. We have more poor than we have rich. The rich can buy whatever they need. They can buy the best doctor. They can pay the highest medicine prescription. They can pay for that. But the majority of us, middle class, poor, working class, It's hard. It's hard. And especially for the senior citizens who are on fixed income, such as myself. You know, I'm not working. I have my husband's insurance, but with the money that I've gained from him, his pension and Social Security. So I'm grateful for that. I still have to pay medical, you know, I still have to pay my insurance, whether I have to go to the doctor or not. I still have bills and still have to buy food and pay for car repair now that I'm traveling everywhere in this, so those are things, issues that every senior citizen, and especially if you're paying for, like a woman said it last night. She said that her husband had to pay for a prescription that was $900.
Hmm.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And so that's what we are being faced with, and our government does not want to expand it. And expanding Medicaid is not just for the seniors, and it's not just to make sure that our prescription drugs are lessened, but it's to bring hospitals into the rural counties that have none. They close them down. Okay, they close them down now. Has caused a hardship for those to have to travel to another county. And you're talking about 30 to 60 miles to see a doctor. And if the neighboring county doesn't have a hospital, you're going to have to go further. Many people come to Birmingham. Many come here to UAB or to whatever other hospital, St. Vincent or Princeton, to receive medical treatment from Roane County, okay, from Roanoke, or from what we call the Valley, Casita, Alabama. And so they're having to travel because, for one, there's no specialties there. You don't have any specialty doctors, you don't have a hospitals. And so therefore they're having to travel so far. That's a hardship. And especially with gas being as high as it is, that's another hardship that we have to look at and have to think about. And so hospitals being brought back into these rural counties is a need, is a definite need. And another thing, healthcare expansion, Medicaid expansion will help, as I mentioned, the poor working class citizens, those who are working but cannot afford to keep the lights on and pay for medical, pay for prescriptions. So it's a lot that's going on. We see that there's discrepancies and disparities in the insurance industry when it comes to women. Women are needing adequate health care as well. And we see that there's discrimination when it comes to women and people of color, especially young men of color from the ages of 18 to 35. So there's a lot going on here in Alabama that I would like to fix. I want to move on to our economy, and I'm trying to be mindful of the time. I've spoke with a young man a few times. I met with him. He's been introducing across the Black Belt what is called solar farming. Solar farming is in my platform for economy, as well as windmills and hydroelectricity. Things that we know we're moving into this new age. But hydroelectricity has been around a long time. Windmills even have been around a long time. Solar farming has been around for a long time. Okay, with the panels, they've been using panels and windmills in Tennessee and hydroelectricity in Tennessee even before I moved back here to Birmingham. And so these are things that our state can benefit. We have the land for it. So with this solar farming, he's been calling for farmers or people with land, with property, who are willing to use, part of their property, if not all their property, leasing it to have the solar farms. they will get paid. Okay, the solar farms will then uh, allow us to have the lighting. It will furnish us with the lighting that we need for each and every home and industry about. So they're looking for people that are willing for at least 20 acres. It could be more than one person. It could be a group of people to come up with the 20 acres for, to be able to have the farming in certain locations. And and Alabama Power will work with the solar farm, with the individuals. Okay, well, they will get paid. Okay, so it's an incentive for, they call it generational wealth, where it will be with you forever, from generation to generation. So that's one thing. Another thing in terms of our economy, I want to raise our minimum wage, which has been almost 14 years going at 7.25. I want to raise that to $15. I think that is in agreement with what our president, when he stated his inaugural address to us, that's what he want every state to have, is a minimum wage of $15, and I agree with him. Is that going to solve a lot of stuff? No, not everything, but at least it gives every individual a little break the way you won't have to work 2 or 3 jobs. $15 an hour, a a 40-hour week will help that family a lot. And what will that entail for those who have worked or in certain professions? That will cause their increase, hourly increase wages to go up as well. So it's a win-win situation. 15 hours, I mean $15 an hour for someone working at McDonald's, like a high school student. That's great. They would think that is great, big money. Okay, big money. That gives them an incentive, give you an individual a little hope to where they can purchase a car. Everything else is going up, be able to get insurance, affordable insurance, because they can pay for it. So those are just a little bit of the issues that I've been addressing, and all across. So everyone here in Alabama would be able to get a little piece of the pie. And I believe that lottery will help, I strongly do, will help a lot of our economy here, bring in new jobs. It can bring in broadband. I tell you, we traveling some of these rural places, all the rural places that have not towers. If we are using our GPS, I tell you, sometimes we have to just like, okay, Holy Spirit, guide us, because we have no direction right now. It will go out at any time. So broadband not only will help with our schools, it'll help our small businesses, and every corporation wants to be able to know that when they bring their business to Alabama, especially the rural areas which have the land, when they bring their businesses, they want to be able to know that they will have good internet services. So fiber optics is some of the counties are going that route. We'd like for that to be all across the area so that we can have the broadband that we need for educating our students, for businesses, hospitals even. So that would benefit the hospitals that I'm hoping to come through this Medicaid expansion, and along with the lottery and federal money, so the citizens can be healthy and cared for and supported. They can get, like I said, a piece of the pie, have the life, pursue happiness, and be able to say, Alabama's a good place. The main objective is to make Alabama no longer the scourge of the nations, not just the nation, but nations, because other countries are talking about Alabama and how deplorable living, how backwards we are, and how behind we are on everything. And because of our legislatures, because of our governor, you can only do so much with the money that you have. Definitely can't take it with you when you die. So we want everybody to understand that this little lady right here is desiring to run and to take care of and to reduce recidivism. We don't want all that, just want to take care of the well-being of our state. So with that, I'm going to close. I'm going to ask, a lot of people been asking, well, where have you been? I didn't know that you exist. I didn't even know there was a Democrat running. And we're saying, yeah, we've been running everywhere. And it disturbs me to find out that people don't know who I am, even though there have been commercials put out, but we need more commercials. I know the Democratic Party is suffering, but we need people to donate. $10, $10 will help. If you can't afford $10, $5. And I ask that you would donate it to my website, which is www.yolandaforgovernor.org. You can click on that donation button. If you want Yolanda to be seen, if you want any of the Democratic candidates who are running to make Alabama better, who have the same goal in mind, who has the same passion to better our state, we are asking that you all donate. Yolanda Flowers, need you to donate. So I'm just asking if you can afford $5, $50, 500, 5,000. I'm asking you to please do so. We are trying very hard to get another commercial in these last couple of weeks to get out there. But when money is scarce, when money is not coming in, our signs are being pulled up. I know mine have been pulled up since I've been putting them down. And that's another derailment right there. We know our campaigns are being sabotaged because we know the signs are being put out. We're all of us. Check engine lights are coming on our vehicles left and right, and we're having to do all kind of repairs simply so people will get to see who's running and representing, who's fighting for the state. So I ask that you all will kindly donate to me, who will be your governor. But Yolanda, in order to get there, I have to have the funds. I have to have the support. So I just thank you. Thank you, Ms. Simpson and What Matters Gulf Coast for allowing me this time to express and to expound a little bit on the issues and just to tell you a little bit about me and my heart. I thank you so much for your support. I thank you for your prayers. I definitely need your prayers. Do not ever let up on praying for me. But most importantly, pray for our state because our state is in dire need of saving.
Yeah.
So thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. And I love you, Alabama. God knows I do.
Well, thank you for sharing that, all of that wonderful information and really, really digging down deep into your platform. A lot of times when we interview candidates, they'll come and they'll give you just little snippets of what they would like to be in their platform or what they would like to fight for once they're elected. But you really did a deep dive, and we really do appreciate that. And everything you talked about are things that are close to our heart in terms of how we can help and how we can help our state and move our state more in a more progressive manner instead of this regressive.
Yeah.
Let's do it the same way we've always done it and just hope for different results. So
Yeah, yes.
we do want to thank you for that. Now, the other thing I would like to say before we sign out is that I was going to make a very passionate appeal to the public, to our audience, about donations and how they can contact you and how they can volunteer and that kind of thing. But you did an excellent, excellent job at that. So I don't even have to touch it. Uh,
Okay.
and she is exactly right. We have excellent candidates that are running for several of those major positions across the state,
Mhm.
but they've got to have our help. And
Gotcha.
as she said, if you can't give $20 or $10, give five.
Mhm.
And if enough of us give five, then she can definitely have the money to do her uh, commercial that she would like to do. Oftentimes, and what some people don't realize is that sometimes the national office doesn't look at Alabama as if it's a state that they really need to put a lot of money behind.
Yeah.
But it's never going to change unless we put the money there so at least the candidates can compete with the candidates that are running in any of the other states.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
in the meantime, we just have to make up the difference.
Yeah.
We have to do that. We
Okay.
certainly do appreciate that, and we will post that on our page of how to contact you, how to volunteer, how to donate. Okay?
Thank you.
And we
Thank
certainly
you so
hope
much.
it will make a difference.
Yes.
We
Yes.
certainly hope that we will. Well, we want to thank you again and thank you for opening up your heart and your mind and filling us in on the real Yolanda Flowers. You can easily tell that there's no pretense here, that what you see is actually what you get.
Absolutely. I have so much more, I share with everybody that,
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
I just have such great plans that it's just like, that I want for the state,
Yes.
for everybody, for
Yes.
us all, because that's my heart.
Exactly.
I'm tired of the scourging. I'm
Yes.
tired of the scrutinizing. I'm tired of them talking about Alabama,
Yes.
which is all true, but we
Mhm.
can change that. We can
Yes,
change.
we can.
We can change.
Yes, we can. We certainly can.
Mhm.
Once again, thank you for joining us today. We do have two or three other candidates that will also be coming on because we want to introduce the candidates to the public so you will know firsthand that there are candidates that look like you and they actually are passionate and care about some of the wrongdoings that have been happening in the state of Alabama. So, once again, we want to thank our audience and we want to invite you to please return again. Please join us again next Sunday at 4 p.m. Thank you and good evening.